Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're gonna do something a little bit different, kind of a makeup pack with me, a makeup chat, a little get ready with me at the same time. I'm headed out of town on a short weekend getaway to California tomorrow for a few days, so I thought we could do my makeup together for a dinner party that I have while I will be out there. And while we're doing that, I thought we could chat a little bit about this Sephora Kids thing going on, which is kind of crazy. I've been doing some reading up on it, so I thought we could talk about it together today. But before we get into all of that, I want to give a special welcome to any of you that are new here. Thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure you subscribe before you leave and that your notifications are turned on. With that said, let's get some makeup on. Okay, so I've got in front of me all the things I'm planning on taking for my little trip tomorrow. Let's start off with some of this. This is just a little sample that I have of the Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow. I think I have 2 sample sizes of these. I've used this a couple of times. Basically just like a hydrating primer. It actually feels a little bit like the Milk Hydro Grip Primer to me. Maybe a little bit more moisturizing even than that one, like more serum-like. I'll try and mention everything that I'm using as we're talking. I do have a hard time talking and doing my makeup at the same time. I know they say you should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. I can do that, I'm not stupid, but it's hard for me to have conversations and film and put my makeup on. So if I forget to mention something, I will list everything down below. Let's apply foundation next. I'm gonna take my Airbrush Flawless Finish or Flawless Foundation from Charlotte Tilbury with a little bit of my ColourPop Pretty Fresh, just to lighten it up just a bit. So I'm sure that many of you have seen this Sephora Kids at Sephora debacle that's been going around the internet. I've seen it in a couple different places and I am not that online in the makeup world as much as I used to be even, but I've even seen it popping up everywhere. Brett Cooper was talking about it recently. I heard Kelly Gooch, I just watched her video that she did talking about this recently. I thought she had some really good insights and I was reading the comments under her video just to see what people had to say about this, and they were obviously varied. Anytime you talk about a topic like, well really, anytime you talk about anything on the internet, you're gonna offend some people, it's gonna get a little controversial. But anyways, I wanted to direct you guys to her video because I thought she had a couple of really good points. I can kind of see everyone's argument on who is to blame. I agree that you have to kind of blame the parents to an extent, but it's a combination of like the parents and society at large. And how do you put blame on society at large for anything? Because we're all kind of part of society. I think social media is probably the easiest thing to blame and maybe the most accurate thing to blame. And one of the things that was the most disturbing to me were some of the videos I've seen. Now, I mentioned briefly, I am not very engaged in the online, especially the social media space. I've really abandoned doing Instagram altogether. I don't do TikTok at all. I may be the least social media influencer out there, but I did see a couple videos of these young girls that look to be 9 or 10. I mean, maybe they're 11 or 12. They look extremely young, doing videos, I'm assuming on TikTok or Instagram. But seeing a young girl put on very expensive skincare to kind of be an influencer, it kind of made me sad and a little bit sick to my stomach. I mean, I technically am an influencer. I'm part of this online community, and it made me almost ashamed of being a part of this world, which sounds really harsh. I don't mean that, but it just made me wonder, what are we doing to these young kids? And I mean we, as in like, not like me and you, like society. And this is something I've kind of come around to a lot more over the last, especially since like 2020. 2020 was a really, really hard year across the world, across the board. And there was just something that I feel like, I'm sure we were building to that point, but something that collectively broke and has never recovered. Does anyone else feel that way? Maybe it's just me, but it feels like the world's just gone crazy since then and has not gone back to normal, and I'm kind of waiting for it to get back to normal, but it's been 4 years now and I'm starting to think maybe there is no just going back to normal. We just have to go through something that we're going through right now. But these young kids, I just think, oh, it's so sad. I just think social media is so bad for our kids, and I say that as a mom to 3 teenage boys, a 7-year-old girl. I am not an expert parent. I do not pretend to be. Take my Forever Skin concealer. So yeah, it got me to thinking about just social media, kind of my personal experience with social media as a parent. Dealing with social media and your kids as a parent is so hard to do. I feel for the parents that we try our best to try and help our kids manage screens. Those of you that maybe have like a no screen policy in your home. I mean, honestly, I think that is the solution, but how are we gonna do that everywhere? I mean, how is everyone gonna just abandon the screens? I just don't think that's realistic. It's not gonna happen. So I don't know. I just think this is something we have to, like, as parents especially, kind of learn how to help our kids manage stuff like that. I've gotten a lot more strict with social media and my kids over the last couple of years, just because I've gotten more aware of it. It's something that I've been concerned about for a while, but I mean, it's kind of new to everyone. Like we're just learning like the damaging effects that it can do to us as adults, to our children. It gets a lot more dangerous for our kids and for their social health, emotional health, and we're kind of all learning this together. So I don't like being too harsh on anyone, because it is so hard to be a good parent in such an online world, but it's something we have to, at least for me, I need to be aware of. I mean, all I can do is apply things that I'm learning to myself and my own family. I can't control anybody else. It's something that I think about, especially with the Sephora thing. I just was looking at this little girl putting on, I think Drunk Elephant is one of the things that people are really into right now, like the little kids, which is crazy to me. I don't use Drunk Elephant skincare products. They're too expensive for me. I would die if my daughter bought a $70 cream. I would think she was crazy. I don't know. And maybe some of you allow your kids to use that kind of stuff. I don't mean to be judgmental, but I know we all do things differently, but I just can't even imagine that. Like, I just was looking at this TikTok little girl putting on these expensive skincare products and just thinking, like, we are creating monsters. Maybe monsters is a little bit harsh, but clearly we have, as adults, have influence over these kids. Social media has influence over them. By the way, brand new Rimmel Stay Matte. I had to order this from Amazon because they don't carry it at my drugstore anymore. Now let's add a little bit of bronzer. We're gonna do 2 bronzers today. I'm gonna double up. I'm gonna take a little bit of my Merit and then a little bit of my Flower Heat Wave. So my heart goes out to these kids because, I mean, they're trying to follow in the footsteps of people that they look up to and admire, which is influencers and famous people, and everybody is an influencer these days, including me. But I don't know, it made me just think, oh man, I need to be on guard. I have 3 boys that I feel like we're doing a pretty good job helping them to learn how to manage their time with phones and with being online and their use of social media, and helping them to be aware of like how addictive and dangerous it can be. But I would imagine it would be harder for girls than for boys. Like, I'm on guard with my daughter Charlie being almost 7, especially with her being my last one. And I can feel that kind of like burnout that you get if you've had several kids, and you just get a little bit more lax over the years, which I think can be a good thing in some ways, but not a good thing in other ways. And it's something that I'm very worried about. And I'm starting to think about, I mean, I don't plan to, she doesn't have a phone or anything like that. She doesn't even know what social media is, and hopefully she won't for a very long time. But like, I need to start coming up with some like rules for her so that she knows, okay, you're not going to have a phone or social media until you're this old, or I don't know. I haven't quite thought that far yet, but I'm on the lookout. I'm thinking about it. So anyways, if this is something that is very fascinating to you as well, go watch Kelly's video. I'm gonna link it down below for you guys, and read some of the comments. It was very fascinating to hear everyone's perspective. It was really interesting to read through them. I probably agreed with most of the things that I read. Some people said things a little more harshly than was maybe necessary, but it's not that I disagree with them, and I kind of get why people are outraged about this, because it's just feels like something's like broken in society, and I don't know exactly what that is or who's to blame, but I feel like the thing that is the most glaringly obvious to me would be social media, maybe in combination with parents just knowing how to manage, or helping their kids to manage, social media and the online world, which I just feel like is the struggle of our time. So I do have kind of a somewhat unrelated but sort of funny story to share about that. So my oldest son is 21, and when he was a freshman in high school, I think it was about a year or 2 before COVID hit. TikTok was kind of just coming into being. I really didn't even know what it was back then. I think unless you were really hip and young. Okay, did I just say hip? Yes, I did. But he started doing TikTok as a freshman and really got into it and kind of started getting a huge following. Like, people in high school would talk to him like he was the TikTok kid. I don't know exactly. He just would post these like funny compilation videos of like doing chores and brushing his teeth, like random. Seriously, what a weird world we live in. But he was getting pretty popular and kind of excited about it. We were starting to get a little bit concerned about, okay, is this a wise use of time? It's starting to suck up a lot of time. Side note, he plays baseball. He's always had ambitions to play baseball. He's in college right now, playing baseball. But during this time, he recognized that this was just starting to suck a ton of time away from him, and he ended up deleting TikTok so he wanted to focus that time on his baseball and building his skill level. And so I was very proud of him for making that decision. And since then, we don't allow our kids to have TikTok. I just think it's too addictive of an app. It's not the only one. I mean, my kids have some other social media that we try to monitor and help them manage their screen time the best that we can, but we're not perfect at it. But man, it is so tough. Just such a crazy world that we live in right now. And as parents, I feel like it's just hitting us all at once. Like, and I'm sure other generations have felt this way before as well. And I remember reading a couple comments under Kelly's video about people talking about like the magazine craze if you're Gen X, which I'm like in between a millennial and Gen X. I was born in 81. So depending on where you look, I really don't know if I'm a millennial or I'm Gen X, whatever. I don't think it really matters, but I'm in my 40s now. And I remember growing up during this time looking at magazines and just thinking, like, idealizing these women on the covers of magazines, which was kind of the TikTok of our day. So I try not to get too outraged or too harsh about it, but just be kind of aware of the unique challenge that our kids face, because they're just trying to grow up in the world that they know. I'm gonna take this, my Nabla Duo Blush. This is definitely coming with me this weekend. This is my favorite blush ever. I love it so much. I actually got on Ulta's website yesterday and noticed all of the shades of this blush are now out of stock, which I was like, dang it. I thought I was the only one that knew about this hidden treasure, but apparently not. Let's do the brows next. I'm gonna take a little bit of my e.l.f. brow wax. I still need to find a replacement for this. I have not done that yet. I saw something similar on Amazon that was pretty cheap, but I haven't ordered it yet. I just keep forgetting. So if you have any opinions about the Sephora 10-year-old girls running amok, making a mess of the Sephora stores, feel free to vent down below. One thing that somebody said that I thought was very interesting, and I don't know if this was someone in a video that I had watched that said this, or maybe it was a comment that I read. So I don't know who to give credit to this for, but it was very fascinating. They had mentioned something like, we are seeing the first generation of like iPad kids entering society. I mean, kids that were legitimately, possibly solely raised on iPads. I mean, solely, but maybe. And just wondering if that maybe had something to do with it. Like, how is this such a major problem right now? And I'm sure it's not just like a Sephora thing, but clearly this is like, it's a major deal. Like, it's not just in one or two places or certain cities, it's kind of everywhere right now. I actually don't go into Sephora stores super often. The last handful of times I've been to either an Ulta or a Sephora, I have noticed they seem more messy. Like, the testers seem a lot more messy than usual, but I don't remember actually seeing young girls like making the mess. So I don't know. I don't know that for sure that that's what's to blame. I kind of just thought it was like staffing issues, maybe like not having as many. I know some places have had a hard time and filling jobs, so maybe I thought they just were understaffed or something, but I don't know. Maybe that was what was going on the last time I noticed that in Sephora pre-holidays. I really don't know what the solution is. I mean, it's kind of a solution that individual parents and their kids are gonna have to sort out, but probably a lot of those parents don't really know it's an issue or think it's an issue. Clearly these kids are at Sephora all by themselves, which part of me thinks is crazy. I mean, who lets their 10-year-old go to Sephora alone? Which I had that thought to myself, and then I realized I was in the mall before Christmas and I allowed my boys to go into Foot Locker alone. Of course, they're 16 and 13, so I kind of felt like that was appropriate. And my boys they're very good kids. I highly doubt that they would cause a ruckus in a store, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're little monsters and I just don't know. I am also gonna take my Refi brow gel just to add a little bit more hold to my brows. Also, if I get too much of that brow wax, in the brush. It can get a little bit waxy, kind of white looking, so I like to cover up some of that waxiness with a tinted brow gel. There we go. Okay, let's move on to the eyes. So I thought I would probably just take with me these two Kaja trios. I have the Glowing Guava and the Rosewater ones. I'm gonna be wearing a pink dress to the party, so I thought I would use these. And then I might also take my new Natasha Denona Mini My Dream palette, which I'm really enjoying this. But for today, I think we're gonna use both of these. This one just has 3 shimmers. You have like a really beautiful light icy pink, kind of like a more cool toned mid, I would still say this one's pretty light, and then a deeper like rosy color. And then this one right here, you have some lighter shades, a really pretty rosy nude, and then a shimmer, and then a deep kind of reddish plum. This one's beautiful. So let's start off in this shade right here. Oh, look how perfectly that matches my blush. By the way, I highlighted my own hair yesterday, and I feel like I did a pretty good job. When I do touch up my own hair, I usually will just put like 2 foils right here. Maybe I'll do like one in the back once in a while, and then I'll do like a foil right here. So that's all I did, was 2 here, and then I think I did 1 here and 1 here. So it's not a lot of highlights, but just enough to kind of brighten up that color that I just put down. It looks pretty good. Don't look too close. Now I'm self-conscious. It's probably not perfect. If you're a hairdresser, or my sister who is a hairdresser, you could probably criticize my hair right now, but I feel like I did a pretty good job. I'm just taking a tiny bit more, kind of running it simultaneously on the top and the bottom at the same time. I'm just gonna take my sponge and kind of clean up that line a little bit. Let's add my shimmers first, and then we're gonna kind of blend into the shimmers with that matte. So I'm gonna start off with this one right here. This one's in the middle of the all shimmer palette, the Rosewater. And take this one on the center of my lid. And then I'm gonna take the one at the back of that Rosewater palette. We're gonna put this one on the outer third of the lid all the way to the inner corner, and then we're gonna blend into it with that matte. I love the Kaja shimmers. They have a really pretty micro glitter in them. And then we're gonna take the lightest shimmer, still in that Rosewater palette. This is such a beautiful color. It reminds me a lot of Ladybird by ColourPop, a little bit more dry. This is gonna go on the inner third of the lid. Okay, nice and bright. I'm gonna go back to my sponge and just lightly tap that underneath in this inner corner area where I can get some fallout. Now let's add the matte shades. We're gonna jump back over to the Glowing Guava trio and take that dark red matte. This one I'm gonna take with my Sigma E25. I'll probably take my Sigma brush. This one's too big, it doesn't fit in my makeup bag. So I'll probably take my Sigma brush and then my Persona brush, or my Sydney Grace blending brush. I feel like that's all I really need. And this color, I'm gonna tap right this outer corner. Ooh, that's pretty. Okay, look how pretty. I feel like that is just gorgeous. Now the dress that I'm wearing is a kind of a softer pink. I'm not sure I want that red. Ooh, I don't know. I think it's really pretty. I might add a little bit of this dark brown. Let's do that. Actually, let's do it right now. It's a little bit extra. We're using 3 palettes, or 2 trios and a palette. But I really want this to be more of like a purple than a red. So I'm just taking the tiniest bit of this dark brown in the My Mini Dream palette and very lightly just going over mostly like the lash line of this outer corner, just to see how that kind of turns it sort of purple. Just tones down that red while adding a little bit more smokiness to it. I feel like that is so pretty. I'm gonna wipe off that brush really well. And then I'm just gonna go around the edges very lightly. Keep wiping it off. I don't wanna pull this deep color. I'm just blending it out without moving it too much. And then I'm gonna lightly run it along this outer edge just to feather kind of where that darkest shimmer was, to make sure it's nice and blended. That looks great. Let's add a little bit of liner. Let's use this. This is my Clio dark brown waterproof eyeliner. I need to buy another one of these. Now for some mascara, we're gonna take my Cali Ray mascara, mostly because it's a mini and it's one of my favorite long wearing mascaras. I thought about taking my Tower 28 with me, but why not take a mini to save a little bit of space? Just a couple coats of this, and then I'm going to put on a set of half lashes. Then I'll be right back and we'll finish the lips. Okay, and the eye look is finished. This is such a pretty eye look. I love these Kaja trios. They are so good. Let's move on to the lips. So we're gonna layer up a few things. I'm gonna use a lip liner, lipstick, and a gloss today, starting with my LA Girl Shockwave lip liner in mauve. Do a tiny bit of overlapping with this, kind of smudge it in. All right, then I'm gonna throw a little bit of this. This is Yosh from MAC, just right in the center. I'll probably take my Lawless gloss with me, but I don't have it with me right now. So we're gonna take just a tiny bit of this Shimmer Bomb from Revolution. I actually don't love this other than just like right in the center. And I think that is gonna do it, you guys. What do you guys think of the finished makeup look? Very dinner party appropriate. I think it's gorgeous. I think this is all the makeup I'm going to take with me. I was overpacked for these weekend getaway trips, which is really silly because I'm only gonna be there for 3 days. Thank you guys so much for watching today. I hope you guys enjoyed this makeup look. If you have any thoughts about the makeup products, about the Sephora Kids, let me know down in the comments below. But that's gonna do it for now. Let me give you one last reminder. Please subscribe before you leave, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.